I'm
Wonderful.
honored to be here. Let me say that.
And we are so, again, I'm just flabbergasted that somebody got up at 4:30 in the morning to be with us. So as much as I really appreciate it, I am just flabbergasted because that is a tough nut for me to crack. So with that, I'm going to introduce our speaker this morning. Julie Brain Lady Anderson is considered to be one of the nation's top experts on brain personality connection. She's a dynamic and engaging international public speaker, business, communication, and relationship consultant, as well as a published author. For more than 15 years, she's been igniting her audiences to fire up their brains to inspire positive changes in relationships of all in attendance. The information she shares will help those who hear to accelerate their success in life and business throughout the discovery of their natural gifts. Julie's education background is vast. She studied natural health, psychology, human resource development, and God only knows, immunology. Whatever, I'm missing a syllable. What am I missing, Julie? Help me with that word.
Psychoneuroimmunology.
Oh, I was close. Okay.
You were close.
At Clayton College, she's a 3-time attendee of Realizations Inc. Success Resources International's Brain, and Innate Giftedness program. She also received CECs in the continuing education credits in the field of depression, anxiety disorders, and brain function. She has done extensive research in the areas of personality types, brain function and anatomy, brain health, and the brain personality connection. So with all of that, I'm very tongue-tied now, and I'm going to turn it over to Julie Anderson. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Hopefully everybody can see that all right. We are here to talk about, once again, thank you for having me this morning. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to drop some brain info on you that hopefully will help you to, when applied, help you to just manage the stress a little bit better, no matter what your business is or what your company is, whatever that is. We are going to talk about some really interesting stuff connected to the brain. Now, because of the topic, I want everyone to just take a moment, take a nice deep breath, kind of roll those shoulders back and just relax for a minute. Michael, I want you to do a lot of this afternoon. Take nice deep breaths and just relax your body. There's a lot of interesting research on breathing, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. What we want to really understand about stress, first of all stress is not necessarily bad. When you do things like stretch your muscles through exercise, that's positive. When you get a little bit anxious over dangerous situations, that's protection for your life, right? So it's not 100% bad, but a lot of it can have a very negative effect on your body and on your brain, actually damaging brain cells. So we want to make sure that we manage the stress, that we allow when our brain gets in that stress, that fight, flight, conserve, withdraw, and the amygdala takes over, that we learn how to control it. And we also be proactive before stressful situations. So we train our brain how to be resilient and how to just like instantly calm itself and take back control over the thinking portion of our brain. We're going to talk about exactly what happens during that stress response in terms of brain activity that will help you to understand why this is so important to understand and to learn, because we don't want to have these long-lasting negative repercussions that come from that. And that's where I started in that psychoneuroimmunology. It was understanding how that stress affects your immune system and why. So when we look at things in work, now I'm applying this to work overall. And a lot of the statistics that I'm going to share with you are statistics that apply to large corporations. But whether you are an entrepreneur or you are working for corporate, the effects of high stress definitely has a definite effect on the bottom line in your success of your business and profitability of your business. When there is too much strain too much stress, right? Your things don't get done as well. There's less productivity. There's lack of focus. There is this lack of communication or poor communication between members within the organization or within your office or even within your family as a result of too much stress. And at the end of the day, it definitely is going to affect your health. And when it affects your health, you miss work and you lose money. That's what it comes down to, right? So let's look at some of these very interesting statistics. I found some of these just blow me out of the water, right? In 2019, 94% of American workers reported experiencing stress at the workplace. Now, this was pre-COVID, right? I don't even have the figures for that period of time. I think they're still collecting a lot of that because we're really kind of just now leaving that heavy stress time that dealt with the pandemic. 83% of US workers suffer from work-related stress, and 25% say that their job is their number one stressor. A quarter of the workers say that the biggest stress in their life is their job. Now that's sad because we spend a lot of time every week in our job, right? 40, 50, 60 hours, depending if you're an entrepreneur, 100. I'm just joking. We spend a lot of time in our job, right? Stress causes around 1 million workers to miss work every single day, and that adds up to $300 billion in loss for companies, right? Companies spend 75% of a worker's annual salary to cover the productivity cost or to replace workers. That's a lot. That's huge. That turnover problem is huge, and we're seeing it in a large scale right now in the work environment. More than 50% of workers are not engaged at work, and this results in stress. Depression. We've seen depression go off the charts. Mental illness is a very big concern right now, and it leads to $51 billion in costs due to absenteeism and $26 billion in treatment costs. And those costs are going up literally every month, right? Work-related stress. This one, I was shocked when I first discovered this statistic. Work-related stress causes 120,000 deaths per year. It's just amazing, right? And the main causes of workplace stress is 39% workload, 31% interpersonal issues, and 19% juggling work life, and 6% job security. So, okay, take another deep breath, right? And kind of calm your brain there for a minute, because that's heavy, right? There's a lot, and you have experienced it, I'm sure, in different ways in your own business, right? Whatever that looks like. It may not have been statistically listed, but it has affected the way that you are able to perform your job or your business. Chronic stress literally impairs your brain function. It produces an enzyme that attacks the brain in a way that it damages that communication across the synaptic gap. It literally kills off brain cells in the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is critical for the brain for the memory circuits, right? So if your hippocampus isn't working at snuff, you're not, or at top notch, you're not able to remember and take short-term memories and lock them down into long-term. Right? So it's essential for that. And it literally can shrink the prefrontal cortex. Now, your prefrontal cortex is essential for higher thinking. This is the section of the brain where we understand consequences of our actions, where we are able to basically put two and two together to understand what the end result is going to be. It's where our creative problem solving, where our fact-based problem solving is connected. So this is a very important section of our brain for higher thinking and higher functioning. And it actually can shrink that section if there's too much stress, chronic stress in your life. So I want to talk for just a minute about what goes on in the brain, what happens when you are under stress. And I'm going to introduce you to this little portion of the brain called the amygdala, right? It's a very small portion comparatively to the entire brain. But when you are under stress, it pretty much hijacks the brain. And let me illustrate how that works. So let's imagine that you go to your favorite restaurant in a busy part of town late on a Friday night, and you're having such a great time with everybody in the group. You're enjoying, you are there until closing. And you walk out the door, and as you walk out the door, the manager locks the door behind you. You say goodbye, and you walk by yourself down to your car, which you had to park far away because it was really busy this night. And as you're walking to your car, your brain notices out of the corner of your eye and your peripheral vision, you kind of notice this dark shadow walking towards you. In that nanosecond, before you can even think about it, because the action portion of the brain works 80,000 times faster than the thinking portion of the brain. So in that nanosecond, the amygdala instantly takes over. Now, its job is to get you from point A of danger to point B of safety, right? That's its job, is to protect the body. That's what it's meant to do. Now, in order to do that, it needs all the available energy, all the available glucose that it can possibly access. So it shuts down the prefrontal cortex of the brain, because you don't need to think logically in this moment. You just got to get to a safe place. Shuts down your digestive system to almost a crawl, because in this moment, if you're going to die in the next 5 minutes, who cares if your food's digested? So your digestion comes to a slow crawl. Your immune system gets shut down, because it doesn't matter how many white blood cells you have running through your body in this moment, because you just got to get to a safe place. It takes all that energy then, and it reroutes it, and it puts it into the cardiovascular system, into the muscular system, and it allows your body to move faster and breathe deeper, raises your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, gets you to a place of safety. When it does that, once you get to that place of safety, it will now release that energy and let go of its control of the brain. But here's the problem. This is what happens whether it is real stress or it is perceived stress, or it is a real threat on your life, or it is just the emotional threat of the stress that you are under. And this takes me back to where I first began in studying the brain, was this topic of psychoneuroimmunology, and how what you think, what goes on in your mind, causes chemical reactions in your brain, and that affects your immune system. So stress creates this entire process that shoots your body through of things like cortisol, glucocorticoids that are not necessarily healthy on a consistent basis. They have their place to protect you in the moment. But what happens when you get to that place of safety, and the manager of the restaurant is the one who followed you to hand you your phone because you left it on the table? See, it was stress that your brain considered life-threatening, but it really wasn't. And that same process happens when you are experiencing stress in the workplace. And there's lots of different things that can cause stress. It could be a boss. It could be a workmate. It could be too much work. It could be that trying to balance, right, the work in your life, the commute or no commute, right? Maybe it's that now you have a home office, and that's caused some stress. We're going to discuss that just a little bit. But whatever the reasons are, it is imperative that you take back control of your brain and work with your brain so that you can manage the stress, because we just saw all of the negative things that can happen if you don't. So the first thing is, I tell people, you have to learn how to manage stress in the moment, right? So what's going to be the way that you can manage stress right now if you are experiencing it? The first thing, and this is why I said I was going to come back to this, taking your deep breaths. Mm-hmm. Now, most people breathe when they're breathing like we did in the beginning. We kind of did that relaxation thing. We breathe in and we breathe out through our mouth. However, if we are in a highly stressful situation, really what we want to do is we want to re-engage the prefrontal cortex, because the amygdala has pulled energy away from it. But we want to re-oxygenate it so that we can think our way through this stressful situation without slowing our digestive system, our immune system, and not being able to think. So what you do is you do those same patterns of breathing that you do for relaxation. In other words, I count in for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 4, but you're going to do it with your nose. You're going to exhale through your nose, not through your mouth. Neuroscience has scanned the brain when you do this, and by exhaling through your mouth, or through your nose rather, you're actually engaging or activating the prefrontal cortex of the brain. So when we get stressed, remember the oxygen leaves. What we want to do is shoot the oxygen back so that we can figure out how to manage the stress in the moment. When you do this a few times, 2 or 3 times, you're going to lower your heart rate, you're going to lower your blood pressure, you're going to increase your core stability, reduce that stress, and be able to think, how do I manage in this moment? Sometimes you need to just literally walk away. So if there's a stressful situation, it was a stressful phone call, it was a stressful interaction with a client or with a workmate, take those deep breaths and just walk away. Give your brain a moment to think. I don't know about you, but I was one of those kids whose mom told me when I was in a fight with one of my sisters, I have 4 sisters, she would always say, okay, count to 10, right? Because that initial, remember, the emotion and action portion of the brain work 80,000 times faster. So the initial response is not always the best, because if you're responding instantly, you're probably responding from the lower regions of the brain and not your brain, not your cognitive portion of the brain. So sometimes you just need to walk away from that stressful situation, do that deep breathing, take a break, and that's going to allow you to logically think through whatever that's the solution to, or how do you manage the stress in that moment. I tell people to do things like literally shift your brain completely from that moment or from what's going on and do something completely different, like playing a brain game, doing something, doing some jumping jacks, doing something that is so completely separate from the stressful moment that it gives your brain time to register. It will do a lot of work for you if you give it the tools to do it. There are also daily activities that you can do to build your stress management system, build that muscle, right? And these are things that it also builds your resiliency, and you train your brain. You actually train your brain to respond better on a regular basis to highly stressful situations. One of those things is to make sure that you are healthy. Make sure that you are taking care of your brain and your body. You want to always be hydrated. This is so important. When you are mild, very mild dehydration, 2% drop in body water. So before most of us even feel the desire to reach for a glass of water, it slows your metabolism by 3%. It's the #1 trigger of daytime fatigue. It gives you a drop in it causes short-term memory issues. You have difficulty focusing on the computer screen, basic math, reading something on a printed page. So imagine how much it's also going to affect your stress response, right? If you have difficulty thinking, then you're not going to manage stress as well. So stay hydrated. Exercise is so important. Exercise lowers the cortisol. It lowers your body's stress hormones. So if you have a daily stress that hits you, or your life is stressful, or the world is stressful, or your work is stressful, making sure that you exercise on a daily basis is going to reduce the body's stress hormones and increase the release of endorphins, right? And I'm going to talk about that again in a minute. I think I have another slide with a cute little thing on it. It also improves your sleep quality. Exercise does. So these are things that you can do every day that build your physical health, your mental health, and your ability to respond well to stress. You can also incorporate things in your environment, right? In your environment that actually helps to keep your brain healthy and helps you to reduce stress. The brain runs on rhythmic patterns. So you want to play alpha wave inducing music that will help to improve your concentration, your focus, your relaxation, because that's going to help your stress muscle. It's going to help build that resiliency. Fresh, clean air is really, really important. It's been said that the most toxic air, unless you live in a big city where the smog level is very high, but oftentimes the most toxic air is inside your office space or inside your workspace. And there are a lot of natural things that you can do. Plants, just large leaf plants. They've done studies in rooms. It was actually NASA who did these studies. Rooms that have large leaf plants in them contain 60% less mold and bacteria. Exeter University in the UK found that indoor plants actually improve concentration, productivity, and boost staff well-being by 47%. Just by having some plants. Get some green stuff in your office, right? It can increase memory retention, all kinds of great things that just simply having plants and improving your indoor air quality will do for you. Doing different types of aromatherapy can also be very good for the brain. It's very interesting. Out of all the senses, the sense of smell is processed the most closely to the emotion center in the brain. All of the other senses kind of go through this routing system in the brain, whereas the sense of smell, the olfactory nerve, is right there connected to the limbic system, which is the home of emotion. So smell has the greatest ability to shift your emotional base. So things like eucalyptus, that increases alpha waves, which alpha waves will keep you calm and increase your alertness, right? Japanese green tea improves memory performance. Lemon, peppermint, and vanilla actually increase healthy electrical activity in the brain, right? And then if you're really under a lot of stress or you have a very stressful workspace area, lavender, bergamot, those are things that actually reduce stress according to current studies. So utilize natural things to help you to manage stress in the moment and to build that stress resiliency muscle. Smiling. You've all heard those figures of how often a baby smiles versus, and Marianne, you're going to see this so much in the next couple of years, right? How often babies smile versus adults. Smiling has been shown to actually change and shift the emotional base in our brain. There's been studies that have been done in the field of facial analysis and facial feedback, and it shows that the neural when they do the MRIs, they show that engaging the muscles in your mouth, in your face, stimulate parts of your brain that control emotional stress, right? That's huge. Just smiling, right? Smiling, so very important. Think about it. Start checking yourself. How often do you smile in a day? Like really genuinely smile. If you start telling your brain every time you walk past somebody, you smile at them, you're not only improving your stress muscle, resiliency muscle, you're helping them, because there's this really cool little thing that humans have, and interesting, dogs have it as well, which is probably the reason experts feel that dogs are so empathetic to people. We have this thing in our brain called mirror neurons, right? So that's why if I were to yawn, most of you would start to yawn, right? You may not be tired, but your mirror neurons kick in gear and they duplicate or they mimic what they see. Smiling's the same way, right? So chances are if you smile at someone, they're going to smile back. So you're not only improving your stress management, you're improving theirs. How wonderful is that? Amazing, right? Smile. Learn to change what you can and manage what you can't. Right? There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And it is human nature to stress over things that we have no control over. right? That we can't change. So make that mental checklist, that mental list of, look, this I can improve. I can improve my stress resiliency muscle, but I can't change the fact that I'm going to get a call every now and then from a customer that's unhappy. I can do these proactive things to train my brain how to deal with stress in the moment on a day-to-day basis, but I can't change a negative interaction that I'm going to have with somebody at work, right? If they had a bad day or whatever. So really take that mental list of what you can change that, and learn to train your brain to not stress over the things that you can't change. All right. We're going to talk now about different things within specific things within your work, within your day-to-day career that maybe are causing you stress, and how do you manage those specifics, right? One of these is projects that are mismatched for your brain strength. Now, if you've taken the brain personality assessment that we have, it breaks down, or any other of those, strengths finders, or, the different personality assessments that tell you where your strengths are. Every job pretty much is going to make you use your whole brain. That's there's just tasks that use your whole brain. And some of those are going to literally take more energy second for second in your brain on a brain scan. So what happens with those tasks is that they cause you stress, or your brain tries to procrastinate them because it's like, I don't have the energy for this, so I got to go do something else. And then you get behind on a deadline, and then your stress level goes up, right? So if you have those things, if there are specific things within your day that cause you stress, projects, then do different things to manage that. Take short breaks, right? And take them often. Take them often. You want to get up and move often. You actually don't want to be sitting for any longer than 30 minutes. The Pomodoro method says 20-20-20, right? I have to tell people, set the timer for 30 minutes, right? Set your timer, 30 minutes, that heavy task, and then afterwards, get up and move. That's an excellent time to hydrate, right? Set that timer, get up, move, hydrate, and then go do something that's going to kind of refill your energy, your brain energy bank, and then go back to that heavy task. So create this task stress management process that you deal with or that you can learn for your day-to-day things. So make your day-to-day work. So make a list of those heavy tasks and kind of sandwich them in between movement, hydration, dancing. Dancing's really good for the brain. What happens if you are just juggling too many tasks, right? You're multitasking in your business. If you are an entrepreneur, you're doing this, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you are juggling a lot of different things. So how do you deal with that? Well, make a list of everything that you can delegate. Outsource whatever you can't possibly can, so that you're not stressing over those things. Arrange those heavy tasks, kind of like it just explained on the last slide, a little bit differently, right? Make sure put those heavy tasks in between the things that are easier for you. So you're giving your brain a break. Go do a brain puzzle in between them to re-energize your brain, those types of things. Can you complete a task? Analyze your tasks. Can you complete some of them in a simpler fashion? Right? This is really important. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people who are perfectionists who feel that they have to complete this task just perfectly. They have to dot every I and they have to cross every T. And sometimes that's really not necessary. That's you're putting it on yourself. It's not what the company's demanding. It's not what the client's demanding. You're trying to go over and above. And if that's burning you out, you need to think about, how can I do this a little bit differently so that I'm not stressing myself out? A major source of stress is communication, poor communication, right? Because it causes that friction, that interpersonal friction, even if it's in the workplace. So think about how can you improve communication to reduce that stress level? Ask more questions. If you're not 100% clear on what the task at hand is, or how it needs to be handled, or what the client wants, or what your boss wants, or what the workmate wants, request clarification. Just say, repeat it back to them This is what I think you're saying, or this is what you need me to do. I just want to make sure. Oftentimes, our pride tells us not to do that. But in reality, that's going to reduce our stress, because if we're not completely clear ourselves, then we're going to go back to our workstation. We're going to go, I'm not exactly sure exactly what they want. And that's going to cause stress that you don't need to have. You can simply ask for that clarification. If it's something you're not comfortable with, have open communication with them and let them know, right? Talk, communicate. Lots of stress comes from simply not communicating well. If you're experiencing some burnout, all right, current stats show that more than 33%, this just blew me away, 33% of paid time off, PTO, paid vacation days is not being taken, right? That's not being used. And in a lot of companies, if you don't use it within a certain period of time, it disappears, right? More than half business owners have not taken their vacation, research shows. They don't take their breaks, right? So it's dangerous. It's dangerous for your health. You entrepreneurs, if you're anything like me, sometimes we put our head down and we've got projects and we've got events and we've got things we want to do. And so we work 7 days a week. We don't take the breaks. That leads to burnout. So be sure, take a self-check. Take a self-check on a regular basis. Am I moving into that burnout stage? Because that's a high stress stage. What are things that you can do? Change your schedule. Take breaks, more breaks throughout the day. Actually plan that vacation and take it. Even create your happy place within your life, right? Within your home, if you have a home office. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. We talk about work-life integration versus work-life balance, or work-life flex is what I like to teach people, especially if you are working from home or you have a home office. Balance is not always achievable. And when we set that bar that I need to be in balance, your brain stresses out because you're not achieving it. So it's counterproductive, right? So what you really want to do is you want to come up with creative ideas of how can we integrate, how can we be more flexible when it comes to when you work and when you don't. Now, obviously, if you have a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 6 or whatever that is, there's not a lot that you can do in there. But if you are a person working from home, if you are an entrepreneur, pay attention to this. Start to think, how can I be more flexible with my schedule that will reduce my stress? It is really important. Home offices are huge now, even if you're working for a corporation, because there are a lot of companies that have gone to that home office setting. You want to make sure that you tell your brain where work is and where play is and where sleep is. So set up a dedicated workplace, and that dedicated workplace should not be in your bedroom. It should not be in your dining room, because your brain will get confused, literally. When you are in your bedroom, you need to sleep, and your brain needs to know it's sleeping. If you see a desk when you're trying to fall asleep, what's it going to remind you of? The work that's sitting on the desk, right? It's also going to stress you out in the eating situation, right? You don't want to have it in your dining room if you can at all manage that. Establish your parameters and stick to those, because that's going to help your brain manage stress better. Mind your brain health. Exercise, I said this before, move. Exercise creates endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. That's from Elle Woods of Legally Blonde, right? We want this. We want to get out there and exercise. For optimal health benefit, you want to shoot for 40 minutes of moderate cardio every day. If you can, get outside. Walking at least 20 to 30 minutes in a natural setting has been associated with the greatest drop in cortisol levels in your body. So get outside in green spaces. Have your dedicated times when you are unplugged. Listening, turn off your notifications, right? Those things instantly will engage the stress response in your brain. Make sure that you're getting good sleep, because sleep is a powerful stress reducer, right? You want to when you have a good, healthy sleep routine, that reduces all of those stress hormones in your body. It regulates mood. It improves concentration. You're a better problem solver. So pay attention to your sleep pattern. This is fascinating. Keep your friends close. Keep your friends and family close, so long as your family doesn't stress you out. They did they've done a lot of studies on literally even your chromosomes, right? And the telomeres at the edge of the chromosomes that protect your chromosomes, that protect your DNA strand, right? When you have too much stress in your life, you can literally shorten your lifespan by 26%. That's a quarter of your life you can take away if you are under chronic stress, right? It makes this deadly, chronic stress being deadlier than obesity, alcoholism. Right? So what they found is that when you have support groups, when you stay close to your friends, you're actually increasing the production of telomerase in your body, which is the amino acid that protects those telomeres at the end of the DNA strand. You'll be healthier. Pay attention to your diet, right? Don't go, when you're stressed, I don't know about you, I go straight for the carbs, I go straight for the candy, right? That's the worst thing you can do for your brain. Go for the healthy foods, go for the nuts, go for the dark fruits, right? The berries, excellent for your brain. Make lifestyle choices that will improve your stress management muscle and will improve your health. Now hopefully you can hear this next thing, because this is my number one tip. You ready for my number one tip? Who wants my number one tip? Right? My number one tip, right? Is laugh. Laugh. I'm going to turn up my volume. Hopefully you can hear this. And it's not wanting to do it. Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful.
There's nothing like it.
It's beautiful. And you know what? Every single one, I was looking at everybody's face. I heard some giggles. I see the face, the smile. What did we just do? We instantly created physical changes in our body. It enhances your oxygen intake. When you breathe deep, oxygen goes to your brain. Your oxygenating your brain stimulates your hearts, your lungs, increases the endorphins. It activates your stress relief muscle or response in your brain, right? It fires up your immune system. You burn more calories when you are laughing, right? Just so many. It increases your pain, your pain level, your pain response neurotransmitters, your pain management neurotransmitters, laughing. So I tell people, set up your favorite YouTube channel. Put all of those videos on there that make you laugh. And whenever you are feeling stressed, go click play. Your brain will thank you and you will walk away feeling better. It's not that the source of stress disappears, but you have just done something beautiful for your brain, and it's going to be a lot happier. So in review, I want you to breathe. I want you to remember to breathe. Use things like aromatherapy, music, fresh air, plants. Drink, hydrate, make sure your brain's hydrated. Get more sleep. Get good quality sleep. Control that amygdala. When you control the amygdala, you're going to control your stress level. So, any questions?
Oh, you just covered so much information.
Let me drop this share. Right.
There we go.
And I think we have just a couple minutes, right?
It's 9 o'clock. We have a good 10 minutes. Some people may have to leave a little early because they have other things to do, but no, you did great with timing.
All right.
I started writing notes as you were saying. Music. What kind of music? What's alpha wave music?
Actually, a lot of your classical music, believe it or not, is very good for that. Bach, Beethoven, a lot of those are good for that. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be that. Music just has the benefit of shifting your emotions, right? And I'm sure everybody's experienced that. You hear a very moving piece of music, it can make you sad, right? So you can use music, you can choose, yes, you can purchase CDs online that are alpha wave inducing that improve your concentration and just have them playing in the white noise in the background. But you can also create, it's just as beneficial for stress management if you create whatever your favorite playlist is, right? What's your favorite playlist that makes you either want to get up and move and dance or just makes you feel good? I have different stations on Pandora. I have a Disney station because I'm a Disney nut. And so I love those little Disney songs. They make me feel good, right? So when I need that little pick me up, that's what I play. So it can be flexible. You can purchase the CDs that do that, or you can just put your playlist together that makes you feel good, that you like.
I notice sometimes, because I do different things, I do bookkeeping. And sometimes when I'm doing that, I need to just put on music and it's in the background when I'm doing something that's like very routine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to keep my head going and, bopping and then doing something. So I use music differently depending on who I'm working, what client I'm working on and what things I'm doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea is that it just helps to manage the stress.
Yeah. Anybody have any comments, questions they want to share? Excellent information, Julie. Thank you.
There's so much that Julie said that as somebody who is diagnosed with anxiety and depression from a young age, that through, therapy and whatnot, a lot of what Julie says is so true. And I've adopted so much of it into my own life because you all know me very well. Most of you do. I'm always happy 95% of the time. I am human. I'm all about the fun, right? If it's not fun, it doesn't get done. Like, that's just my motto. Music has been such an important piece in my life to give me peace. So I have my Disney. I'm a Disney fanatic, just like you, my friend. So I got you got it. Like when I hear Ariel singing, I'm just like la la la. So I am, that, and it's a Disney Channel, and then I have another Sirius station that I listen to almost all the time because they calm me, and it I feel like I'm on a beach somewhere, and it's just, for all those things that Julie said, it's so true because those things allow me to have inner peace with myself, and I have become very much like, I don't worry about the things I can't control. I really don't anymore. I used to be really hot-headed, and I used to like just jump at, but you know what? I'm like, what can I do? Let me do what I can do. And what I can't do, I can't do. And I'm just not going to cry over it. Like, it's just the way it's going to be, and nobody's going to die. So, and I've really embodied a lot of what Julie said, because it had been taught to me by other people. And so if you are somebody who's wound up and stressed out and all those things, listen to what she said, because it really does increase your quality of life. The only thing that I need to do is exercise. It's the one thing I don't do. I'm very adverse to it for different reasons. Yet, just you'll be so much of a happier person. And I love happy.
Yeah. Happy.
You talk about music. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, George.
I apologize for being late. I had a crazy morning, but we're good. I'm smiling. And I laughed, and it's all good. But I just wanted to make a note. I paint. I'm very creative. I paint. I do whatever. And it's funny because depending on what I'm listening to in the background, my paintings reflect that. I don't know how to put it, but if I'm listening to country, I have very mellow, pastel, whatever. If I'm listening to rock, very sharp, loud colors. So it's interesting, but believe me when I tell you that I get people to laugh. I try to get people to laugh every day, and just being friendly to people. And it amazes me how so many people walk around with a puss on, and I don't know why. I mean, some people just look mad at the world, and it's just not worth it.
Some people are just mad at the world.
Yep. Yep.
What's that?
Some people are just mad at the world.
Okay, well, too bad. You know, I mean,
Some people have resting bitch face. I mean, that is true. That does exist. I'm one of those people. I don't realize I'm not smiling. I'm smiling on the inside. But Dolly Parton said, if you see someone who doesn't have a smile, give them yours.
Exactly.
Right.
I love it.
correct.
And I tell people, I love that, George, too, that you like to make people laugh, because I always tell people, I don't care if you're laughing with me or you're laughing at me. If you're laughing, I've done a good thing. So I don't care either way, right? Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And you're right about the exercise. I had open heart surgery 3 years ago. And so since then, I've made it a point to do between 3 to 5 days of cardio every day for about an hour and 5 minutes. And I can't tell you in the morning how good I feel. It's like starting new every day, and it really makes you feel well. And I know it's not easy because I get up at 5 in the morning to do it, but it's well worth it. And you know, health wise, it's great. So all those things, drinking water, I do that all day. You know, those things I've been following that for a while without knowing that I should be doing it, but I've been doing it. So your talk was spot on. It was perfect.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you want, I'm going to put in the chat, if you want more information, you can shoot me an email. I will also give you a download that we got stuck yesterday with no internet and no power. And then I'm hoping today everything holds together, but I've got my graphic designer kind of spicing it up a little bit. So I've got a great download. It should be ready in about a week. If you would like that download, shoot me an email at info@yourbestmindllc.com. And you can also, the second Tuesday of every month, I do a chat with Brain Lady Julie, and this month's it's next Wednesday, or next Tuesday rather, at 9 a.m. and 9 a.m. sorry, Pacific time. So it's your lunchtime. But with stress, getting through the holidays, stress is going to be the topic, and it's a very casual, interactive thing. So everybody's welcome to join that.
And if you share that information with me, Julie, I'll send it to everybody as well.
Awesome. Perfect. I'll do that.
Anybody want to share a little bit who hasn't had a chance to? Lisa, Marianne, go ahead, Marianne.
Yeah, so I loved your presentation. It reminded me of certain things. The smell was definitely one, because walking through a park here in Trumbull years ago, they used to have grapes, and you would smell those grapes, and then you would see the vines. They were in the woods, but it triggered right away a memory as a child, because we had the grapevines in our yard, and it just brought back my, childhood. It was a really pleasant memory, but that power of smell is so strong. What I would like to ask you is, a lot of these things, they're great, they're spot on. How, as an owner of a business, do you help your team when you see them struggling with certain things like this? Like, what are the ways that you can help lead a team?
Yeah. One of the first things, because I do a lot of work with corporate, and one of the first things I say is create a brain-friendly culture and literally a brain-friendly atmosphere at work, right? So you set the bar for what the employees would then do, right? So you can't tell an employee, oh, you have to, incorporate plants and green space and music and all that, and then you don't do it yourself. So
Like lead by example type of thing?
Yes. So actually have the office set up in a very brain-friendly way, where you've got, have a fountain where there's running water. Ions get put in the air. That's very healthy for the brain, right? Have your plants. Encourage breaks. Encourage them to, how many times, I knew this when I was working with corporate back when I was in my 20s, right? How many times do you just work through breaks? I heard it the other day at Best Buy. I was in Best Buy to get a new phone, and the guy was like, yeah, I didn't take my break yet. And he was like half hour from leaving, from his day finishing. If you're the boss, encourage your teams, take your break. Not only is it legal, is it a legal thing, but incorporate the smaller breaks. Make them take breaks often. Tell them, get up and move. I even say, if you want to go to the point where you create a 30-minute alarm where you play a dance song and everybody has to get up and dance to that song. Even if they're just standing up, they don't really have to dance, right? The idea is that you dance, you get up, you move, and you drink some water. When you do things like that and that becomes part of the culture of the company, then that's going to automatically start feeding into your employees. If every week when you have that team meeting, you share a little tip on stress management, that's going to encourage them. And you review, hey, did you try it? Who tried it? How did it work? What did you feel, right? So setting the example and incorporating stress management tactics into your day-to-day, the culture of your company will make a really big difference.
Thank you.
Okay, one more thing. As Beth said when you finished, there was a whole lot of information there, but I was really impressed that it was presented in a way where I was able to absorb all of it and kind of retain, I think, most of it in the way you presented it, rather than just a lot of information that I have to go back. So it was done in a very good way. And one thing, I never thought of it as helping me reduce stress, and it's a weird way that I learned to do this. I heard an interview with the man that, the Navy SEAL that shot Osama bin Laden. And in the interview, they were talking about when his team went into the house to go up to find him. They said something, they asked him, you know, you guys must have been hurrying up, rushing to get out of there as quick as you could. And he said, no, we go as slow as we can. When you go slow, that makes the operation complete fast. So basically, he was telling you, slow things down because there's no mistakes, you're not missing something. And it allows their brain to work. So he said the opposite. We weren't rushing to get out of there. We go slow. Slow, you know, is smooth, and smooth is fast.
Love it. Love it. Great. Because like you said, it keeps the brain, you don't go into the fight flight, right? You stay in the upper thinking. And that's so important in that type of an operation.
So when I feel myself getting to that point, I remind myself, I always think of that and I say, slow down, slow it down, and things work out.
Yep. Yep. Because remember that emotion and action center of your portions of your brain, they move 80,000 times faster. So you've got to slow down to catch up, right?
Yeah.
And a good cigar never hurts either. Just saying.
All right, George, we'll expect cigars next time we see you.
Don't say that to me. I'll bring them.
Okay, I take it back. All right. Anybody else want to share? Joanne, Lisa, any thoughts? Joanne, Lisa, you've got a whole place that you need to keep motivated and going. So that's a lot on you to try to, it's hard. It's hard when you have a company, you know, or your branch and everything else, to try to make the day fun and make things healthy for everybody. So,
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Especially
Joanne,
when you're dealing with numbers and facts, and, you know, it's not always a creative workspace, because it's, you know, checks and balances and all the data that needs to be for loans or for any of those types of things. Yeah, it's true. It's extra count.
And Joanne, you've got quite the opposite, because most of the day, except for the people coming in and out of your store, you can't give yourself a break because you're usually the only one in there. So a lot of different things to do to break up your workday, maybe music on and off during the day.
I do. I play 70s music. You know, it's everybody knows it. It's fun. You know, when customers come in, they're like, wow, this is good music. A few times a day, I can't do 20-30 minutes at a time because I can't hear the phone ring. But I do go outside, and you'll find me pacing the parking lot. I do a couple of laps, you know, maybe 8-10 minutes at a time.
I've seen Joanne water the grass and on occasion, the flower beds and the grass.
Yep. Over the summer, I took over watering the flowers and the plants at the front because the guys in the liquor store were busy. So it gave me exposure, fresh air. Highly agree with that one. It definitely helps. Especially because, as Beth pointed out, there are times that, you know, I'm sitting there, it's quiet, I'm in my own head, you know, and I start to get sleepy. So when that happens, I get up, I go outside, or if the weather isn't good, I walk around, you know, I do figure eights in the store. A lot of what you were saying reminds me of a book called Fish. the Pico Place fishmongers. It's about your work attitude and how to incorporate fun and balance into the workplace. And it's very simplified. And I read that like 20 years ago, and you just reminded me of that on a much bigger, broader, happier scale.
Beautiful.
Is that by the Pikes Peak in the Seattle?
Yes.
Okay.
Market, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was, it's cold, it's damp, it's not a fun, pleasant job, but the way that they operate was they incorporated fun into the crowd.
Yes,
So
it was-
fish flying to
Yep.
Arizona.
I've been there.
fish
I've seen
flying
that. That's really
to,
cool.
So they choose
Yes.
to have a good day.
Yes.
They
That's fun to watch.
choose to smile.
Yep. Speaking of smile, and Michael, we're ending up with you. You're going to have a big smile and go through your day.
Well, so thank you for the presentation. You made me remember the times of this year that I was following many of those things. And I look forward to getting back to that probably in the January timeframe. So thank you. It's nice to see everybody again. And thanks for letting me have the last word.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. It was a great presentation, and I know everybody enjoyed it, and we appreciate you getting up so early for us. So
Thank you very much for having me.